So in this episode, I sit down with Rob. Rob was diagnosed with testicular cancer at the age of 29. He, during recovery stage, decided that he wanted to become active and get into running. From that point on, he's gone on to run multiple marathons, becoming an amazing runner, and now he's a running coach and helps other people. So this is a really amazing journey he's been on. Right, Rob, thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I think it's obviously good to go through your story. And I know you've done quite a bit recently as well with podcasts, and you was kind of on the BBC and stuff as well, which was good to watch. So I wanted to go back firstly about your story and go back to kind of when you was diagnosed at 29 with testicular cancer. If you're okay to go through a little bit around that time for us first.
Yeah. So a little bit early, take you back a little bit earlier than that. I spent pretty much as most people in this country, a lot of time playing football. Carried on into adulthood and playing football until I was probably about 28. Just sort of local level Sunday league football, so relative level of fitness. Didn't do any running at the time, and then sort of got to 28 and we're just kind of through with it. Just sort of it just came to a natural end where I didn't want to be playing football anymore. So I stopped and then was sort of digging around for different sports to do because from playing football every week, you then start to think, actually I need to keep active, but I'm not sure how to or what to do. I've got all this free time now from how I used to train sort of twice a week with football and then play on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever, sometimes Saturday and Sunday. So you get a bit of time and so it started to sort of feel like I was getting more unfit and think about things I could do to, keep fit. And then before I'd even had chance to sort of start trying them out, completely out of the blue. Well, I say that actually, I think I was on my bike doing a bit of a short ride, just sort of, it was probably one of the things where I thought, maybe I'll go for a bike ride because I'm not playing football and I'll see. And it just felt, I'd played around with being on a bike and done, my whole sort of life, done a few cycles and stuff and whatever. And it was just around near where I live, and it just felt really difficult, this one particular ride. And it wasn't, I live near Lyme Park, if anybody knows that, it's sort of the high peak and stuff. So this was on flat road. And I was coming up the road on this road back thinking, I need to get off, like I'm tired, and I couldn't work out what it was. Didn't think much of it, just thought, maybe it's one of them days where you're just a bit overtired or whatever. But then it sort of played on my mind a bit, and I was thinking, well, I don't understand it. I don't understand why that was so tough. And then, I'd started to, basically I'd felt a bit of a lump and ignored it, and then slowly started to piece things together in my mind, thinking, surely it can't be, but like, maybe I should get it checked out. And I was still playing football, 6-a-side football. I'd just given up the 11-a-side stuff. And you come up with all the things in your head thinking, maybe I've just been hit with a football or whatever, Arranged to go to the doctors, cancelled it, arranged it again, cancelled it again, thinking, I'm just being dramatic. Went away for 2 weeks maybe from my best friend's wedding. I was the best man, and just forgot all about it. Obviously didn't do any training while I was out there because kind of a load of us out there for his wedding and stuff. And then came back and sort of noticed it again and just thought, this isn't going anywhere. Like, I need to get this checked out. So finally went, third time lucky, went to get checked out. And literally, I think it was the Monday. I went down Monday morning, I've not told anybody, even my partner I was with at the time. I'd not even mentioned it to her while we were away, nothing. So I went to the doctor's Monday morning. And he basically said, right, you need to go down to hospital kind of like now and get an x-ray. And even then I was still like, nah, it's not, I don't know why I still thought like it wasn't that serious. So off I went, literally left the doctors, went straight down to hospital. And it was sort of when I got there that it got real, where they were like, you know what, we're looking for cancer. And I was like, it blew me away. And by the end of the day, I'd gone from going to the doctors in the morning. I should have been at work. I'd not turned into work, and because I worked in the afternoon at that time, I worked like 1 p.m. till 10. So I was there at the doctors in the morning, thinking I'll go to the doctors and just go to work. And before I know it, it's like 4 p.m. I've not gone to work. I've not told anyone why I'm not there, and I'm in the hospital. And then by the end of the day, they told me, yeah, I had testicular cancer, and it was like, come from waking up in the morning thinking nothing.
Yeah.
Last week I was at my mate's wedding to first Monday back, like, what's going on here? So yeah, it sort of took a little bit. I very quickly got used to it. I told a few people pretty much straight away, and they were very sort of matter of fact with what's going to happen from here, which was, at some point in the near future, you're going to have an operation. I'd never had an operation in my life, never broken anything, never been injured, nothing. So I was like, right, okay, I'm going to have an operation. That's the first, okay. And then it was the same week on the, I think they rang me on the Wednesday, on the Thursday, sorry. They rang me on the Thursday and said, right, we've got a space for an operation tomorrow morning, Friday morning. So this is the same week.
Wow.
And I was sat in the office and I was like, I've got stuff to do. I was putting it off essentially, and I went to see my boss, and he was like, "What are you putting it off for? Like, you're fine. Work doesn't matter. Go in tomorrow and get it done." And that was it. Turned up on the Friday morning, had the operation, had it removed, and it was like a whirlwind week from the Monday, not knowing anything, to going in, to the Friday. By the end of the week, I'm on the operating table, like, what's going on here? So it was after that, going back to your original question, it was after that I was laying recovery.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the operation, and obviously I'd already had it in my mind where I was thinking of what sports can I do, what can I get up to, how can I keep fit? Now I'm not playing football, and it was at that point I was laying recovery and sort of having a chat with the doctors and stuff, saying you need to stay off any sport for 6 weeks, and it was the first time I'd never broken anything, never been injured, so I'd never not being able to play football. It was always my choice. If I didn't play football, it's because I didn't want to. I was never told, you're injured, you can't. So it was the first time in my life where I'd been like, I've got no choice. Even if I wanted to go running or cycling or whatever it was at the time, I couldn't actually do it. So I sort of lay there, and it was a bit of a moment where I thought, right, this is probably the weakest or the most enabled, or whatever you want to say, I'll ever be. I'm in recovery. I've had this operation. It's sore. There's a cut sort of around my groin area, and I was like, this is going to be the weakest or the whatever, the illest, whatever you want to call it, that I'm ever going to be at this point. And only from here, I'm only ever going to get fitter. And I started thinking, right, I'm going to cycle, I'm going to swim, I'm going to run, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do everything. And it came to me there, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do all of them. I'm going to do an Ironman. I'm lay on recovery now. I'm in pain, everything's sore. What is the most challenging thing I can think of that there is? And it was an Ironman, and I thought, that's it. The Ironman is in my sort of, it's deemed like one of the most sort of intense events, if you like. And I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to do an Ironman. So it was from that, really. And I came out of the operation. Obviously, I had my 6 weeks recovery. Tried a little bit of cycling. Initially, I think it was cycling first, and it was all right. And then thought, you know what, it's not grabbing me like football is. I don't wake up wanting to go and cycle. I used to wake up looking forward to football, and I thought, I'm committing to this Ironman. I've not said when. It's just going to happen one day. So, all right, I'll leave the cycling for a bit. I'll try a bit of swimming, and the same thing. Sort of went swimming and was a bit like, it was all right, but it's still not the same. And then one of my friends said, do you fancy coming down to a park run? So I went down to my local park run at Bramhall. Never ran a 5K before. I'd got fitness from football, but I'd never ran an actual distance before. So I was like, I'll come down and see what it's all about. So I went down, ran it, absolutely loved it. Like, it was great, absolutely loved it, and thought, I'm going to do this every Saturday. So it was round the corner from my house. I was like, right, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, this is what I'm going to do. And then few weeks in, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to start doing it on a Wednesday, and I'll do the same route on a Wednesday and see if I can get quicker for the following Saturday. And for the first 8 or 9 weeks of doing parkrun, I was getting quicker every single week. It was like 10 seconds quicker, 15 seconds quicker, until you obviously plateau a little bit. And then, but by that point, I'm like 10 weeks in, I'm now running 5K on a Wednesday and 5K on a Saturday, and I was completely hooked, and that was it. And then one thing leads to another. Before you know it, the job I was in at the time did a lot of the sort of charity stuff, and and they were like, oh, you run, yeah, do you want to do the Manchester 10K? Like, we're going to do it as a company. And I was like, yeah, why not? It seems the next logical step. I'll do 5K a week. I'll do a 10K. So I did that, and then and then as you know, it then grows from there. Really, before you know it, you're like, all right, well, maybe I'll do a half. And as soon as you've done a half, it's like, well, I've done a half, maybe I can do a full marathon. And that's really where it started. As I started to grow the distances, the 10K and the half, that's when it started to grow this thing of like, I'm now whatever a good runner is, but I'm now a good runner. I'm probably fitter than I've ever been, even from when I played football. My training is way more intense than it ever was when I played football. So I was like, I'm actually fitter than I've ever been. And then, threw a bit of the cycling in there, started swimming again and stuff. And then, I've been on the sort of the journey ever since to this Ironman, really. So the bio I set up a running Instagram probably not long after my first park run, because I thought, you know what, it really, at the time, there wasn't really any running Instagrams around. There's loads now, but at the time, it was just to document my running, really. So, this is where I've been this week. And that was all it was. It was just a memory book, really, of me running. And, I put the bio as illness to Ironman, and it was really only ever going to be from when I was ill to whenever date in the future I do this Ironman. And I've still not done the Ironman, so I'm still on that now. But obviously the social media has kind of changed in that time, and I never would have dreamt it, but eventually became pretty much, did become my business and my business page. So never expected it. Thought it would be just a bit of a memory of, this is, me remembering runs, and before you know it, you're up to like 4,000 followers, and you're thinking, why do people care what I'm it wasn't about that. It was just like, but people sort of following me and being inspired by it, and still on the journey now. So still illness to Ironman is still there. So we're still going.
How long was it before people obviously started, following you? How long was it before then people started asking you questions about running and kind of that stuff?
It wasn't that long. I think it was with because obviously I was posting regularly with like my times coming down and stuff, and I think running was, at the time when I started running, so I've been running now for, I'm 37 now, so literally like seven and a half years. When I started running, most people that ran were like, it was me and a load of like old guys, like, like 50, 60-year-old guys, like nobody young, if you like, whatever, between 20 and 40 really ran. So as that started to grow, the questions started to come in. So it was maybe like 6 months or maybe 12 months or so of seeing my times come down, and then people saying, oh, what's parkrun? Or it was more about like, what's parkrun? And then there was a whole influx of people who had also been through similar things, been through different cancers, and were reaching out to me because they could see that I was, essentially out the other side. And although still under the care of like the Christie, I was out the other side, recovered and getting fitter. So there was a lot of people reached out for that, and that was kind of my main purpose with it, was, kind of document my journey, but kind of also help people who have been in a similar situation, whether that's cancer or other illnesses or other disease, whatever it is. There was people reaching out with all kinds of things that they'd been through and maybe had operations or whatever, that wanted a bit of advice, and
definitely.
And it just carried on growing from there.
What would you say has been some of your, have you got some like key like people that you've worked with that have got like really big success stories? Is there anyone like springing to mind that you've worked with before?
In terms of success stories, there's I did actually a podcast during lockdown. It was so that would have been pretty, I don't know when, lockdown, like 5-6 years ago. So it would have been quite early on in this stage of this social media. But I met a lot of people through social media who'd found running, who'd also been dealing with cancer, and one in particular, I did a podcast with two ladies who'd both been through, I guess, cancer's way worse than me. I know that's a bit of a weird thing to say, but they'd been through it. And, I was, in the grand scheme of things, I got diagnosed on the Monday, and by the Friday I was operated on. I never, other than that one bike ride where I felt kind of tired, I'd never really had any sort of effect on me that was that bad. These ladies had really been through it. One of them, I think both of them actually had breast cancer, so they'd really sort of been through the ringer with it and suffered and had chemotherapy and and a lot more. And one in particular, she'd found running at a similar time. I think she was diagnosed, called Jo. She was diagnosed maybe a year after me, I think.
Yeah.
So she was almost like a year behind me, but she'd gone through it quite badly, and then she'd found running, and now I'm still in touch with her. I literally spoke to her yesterday. She's done, I think, 6-7 marathons. She's been on some of my plans.
Nice.
I've had her on a marathon plan. She's done ultra marathon. She's just completed, which I should know because I spoke to her yesterday, but she's just completed some. It's like a 4-day ultra walk. So she inspires me because I've kind of followed her journey from. She reached out to me when she was first diagnosed, and I was a year post-diagnosis, and I supported her through all the ups and downs and the shocks and the things that happened that she didn't expect to happen, and then onward from there with her running. So I've kind of seen her right through it, and still keep in touch with her now when she's doing all this stuff, and she pretty much does Manchester Marathon every year. So I catch up with her. She lives down south, but I catch up with her most years when she comes up to do Manchester. So.
Yeah, that must be a rewarding part, especially, with people that have gone through something similar to you, because you've lived it as well.
Yeah.
And there's that connection there already.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think a particular sort of drawn towards people who've, like I said, been through the cancer in particular, because, because like I said, I've lived it, and I know what it's about. And like I said, Jo in particular, because I've seen her journey.
That whole journey.
Yeah. From, I remember having the early conversations with her saying, like, look, I had 6 weeks where I couldn't do anything. Like, you just got to get through it. Like, better times will come and you will get fitter, and it will take you a long time. You probably longer because you've had more intrusive surgery than I have. But eventually, you will get there. And she, like I said, she's still smashing it. So.
Going back quickly to actually in that recovery time when you kind of went from, that state of kind of being in your weakest part really to straight away go into the thought of what's the most challenging thing that you can do. Like, what was going through your mind in that time? What kind of made you go, I need to do is it because, like, at that point, like, life is, like, really kind of fragile, you know what I mean? Like, you've just gone through something it could essentially take your life.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, I think that was it. I think it was, I was laying in recovery, and if you've ever, hopefully not, but if anybody's ever been in the recovery at any kind of hospital, it's not, it's not the nicest kind of place. You just sort of, it's lonely. You're thinking, well, what's happened? What have I done? Like, I feel sore. I feel a bit groggy from, whatever anaesthetic you've had. And I just lay there and I just thought, this is the most, kind of a bit vulnerable, and just a bit like, just had the news that I couldn't do anything for 6 weeks. And I was just sort of thinking, this is, I've got 6 weeks where I can't do anything. Fitness had already started to decline prior to the operation because I'd stopped playing football.
Yeah.
I thought, I've now got 6 weeks of doing nothing.
Yeah.
This is going to almost get a little bit worse before it gets better, because I've got a scar in my groin. I've got 6 weeks where I can't do anything. I thought, I'm really in a place here where fitness is probably going to be the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah.
It was at that point, like I said, you're feeling vulnerable, and you're feeling like, I wasn't sure on which sport I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to find something that was going to keep me fit and keep me engaged weekly, like football was doing. I was just sort of thinking of hard things, and what's a really challenging thing, and the Ironman just came to me, and I just thought, I'd previously been, like I said, I'd kind of always been on my bike, not a serious cyclist or anything, but I'd kind of always been around the bike, so I was okay on a bike. Swimming I was naturally pretty good at. So actually running at the time was my running was the one thing I didn't do.
See, that's funny, isn't it? Usually it's the other way around. People can run, cycle, but it's the swim that kind of catches them.
That's it, So cycling and swim was okay. Running I'd never really bothered, and then it was kind of then we said, come to Parker. And I think at the time, it must have been because it was August time, the guys that had gone down there were the guys I used to play football with, and they must have been using it, I guess, for some sort of pre-season.
Yeah.
Because then by the time we got to sort of September, they all disappeared, and I carried on, and we have a bit of a joke now, because I bet there was probably 10 of us that started the parkrun at the time, and some of them are on like 20 or something like that, 20 parkruns, and I've got this weekend will be 249 and then 250 next week, so
nice.
It's like they kind of stopped and never went back to it, and I've pretty much done it every week since that started. So that was what sort of, and now I look at the Ironman, And obviously the running's the easy bit, it's taken care of. It's the other bits I need to work on. So,
do you ever get days now where you don't want to run, and how'd you deal with that? So just the standard day where you kind of wake up in the morning. Do you ever get it where you just don't want to run that day?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. Literally all the time. Yeah, and it shocks people when I say this on my socials and I talk about like, you know, how I'm you know, for whatever reason not up for it. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm sore. Whatever it is, and people, particularly my clients, are like, I didn't think you got like that. Like I didn't think you ever. Well, no, just because I like running and I coach people to run. Like I still go through the same stuff that everybody else goes through, where you're just not feeling it for whatever reason. It's raining, it's cold, it's too hot. All the reasons that people have to not want to run. You've done a full day's work, whatever it is. And it always surprises people, but I'm like, no, I'm just like everybody else. I do love running, yeah, of course I do, and I coach it for a living, but it doesn't mean that I want to do it all the time. And there's times where I'd have to just get out and grind out, particularly if I'm when I've done 9 marathons now in 4 years. So in particular during that time, when you get into your long runs, I'm getting up on a Sunday morning to go and run for 3.5 hours. Like I don't want to be out there for any time at all. But I know it needs to. I know it's essential for me to do it. But yeah, sort of picking a route and just getting your head down and running around it. But I don't want to be there any of the time. Yeah. So
what's been your best marathon? What was your best time, and can you remember that event?
Best time was 3:08 in Chicago. That was October 23. That was my last marathon I did. So the last marathon I did was a PB. Favourite marathon though is Manchester. Just really, it was just one of them runs that just everything went to plan. 3:08 was great because it was the fastest time, and obviously I trained hard and got a lot of stuff right. I'd still hit a wall at 20 miles, but managed to get through. But Manchester was just perfect. It just, if anything, like it was the perfect marathon. Like nothing went wrong. I got 3:14:30, and I was aiming for 3:30, and everything just felt perfect. The weather was perfect. Everything was great. I didn't get any blisters.
Yeah,
it was just like a clockwork marathon.
Yeah,
and I remember finishing it thinking, nothing went wrong. There was absolutely nothing. Whereas Chicago, I was like, clutching at gels or trying to hang on for dear life for the last 10k, and there was all sorts of stuff going on. It was hot. It was 2 degrees when we started and 18 degrees when we finished. So dealing with that, I'd started the race in gloves and a hat and finished the race in a vest and you know what I mean, like giving my gloves away, throwing them off, and there was all sorts of stuff going on in that. But yeah, Manchester was just perfect. So yeah, the best time was Chicago. That was the last one, but the best marathon was Manchester.
So I want to just pick your brains on a little bit of advice for people on a couple of different topics. First things first, people are getting into running and I've got their eyes on things like a marathon. What would be the first kind of key bit of advice that you give them?
So my advice, when people come to me for a plan, one of the first things I ask them is, how far have you ran before? That's one of the key questions. How far have you run before? And then also, how far could you run right now at a steady pace? And those two questions, because people sign up for a marathon, and I think it's been proven that there is a misconception around distance, even down to like 5k. People think when they start out running, I'll just go and run 5k. No, I did that when I started running, but I played football for 20 odd years. But people who are brand new to physical activity will be like, I'll just go and do 5k. I'll just start with 5k. And it's like, no, 5k is like 3 miles. Like you don't just start by running 3 miles. And I think the misconception goes all the way up in terms of distance and how far and how hard it is to run a set distance. So the reason why I ask people that is because they'll sign up to a marathon because they've done a 10k or something. Think, I can do a marathon. It's like, I need you to understand how difficult this will be. Like, and that's why I asked them how far they've run in the past. Because if they say, I ran a marathon 20 years ago. I'm like, right, okay, I know what I'm dealing with. You've been there. You've been in like the trenches. You know that it's difficult. And then the other reason I ask them how far can they run right now is because that gives me an idea of where to base their training from. Because a lot of time people will go in, they'll sign up to a marathon because they've done a 10k and really enjoyed the atmosphere or whatever, and then they'll just be like, right, okay, well, let's go for it. And they'll, before you know it, they're doing like 15-mile runs or, 20-mile runs or whatever. And it's like, no, hang on, you need to build this up. Like, you can't just jump from, well, I've done a 10K, you know what, I'll just go and do a half. Like, it doesn't work like that. You got to start to build it and build it gradually. Otherwise, you'll be doing a half and you're going to get injured. So, my biggest advice to people is to not jump too soon into big distances. But that's all based on how far have you ran before, because you will also have muscle memory. If you've done a marathon even 20 years ago, there will still be muscle memory. Your muscle will still remember what it was like when you were running that marathon or whatever, and how far can you run right now is a measure. It's always an interesting question, because people say, oh, well, I think I could probably run 15 miles. Like, well, how far have you run recently? Oh, well, 9. Yeah. Why do you think you could do 6 more? And they're like, oh, well, all right, maybe not, then maybe it'd be 12. And when you start to dig into it, you're like I said, and these people are people who've ran regularly. They might have done a lot of running or been running for years, and they'll just be, when you get them thinking about it properly, it starts to sort of click together a little bit. So that would be my advice. Get a plan, obviously from me, but there is other plans out there that you can get, and don't rush it. Give yourself enough time. Don't sign up to a marathon and think, well, it's in 4 weeks, I'm just going to have a go at it, because you'll regret properly. Just having a go at it.
The other bit of advice really is going from your lived experience. Anybody that is kind of has gone through cancer, is going through it, and is in that recovery stage and understands that they want to get into any form of activity really, whether it be running or anything, any kind of movement. What would be advice in that situation as well?
Advice there is, it's a tough one, because you want to say it gets better. I've always been an advocate for, obviously the numbers when it comes to cancer are not great. 1 in 2 people will get cancer, and so it's always difficult when I always found it difficult when supporting people with it. I never said, oh, you'll be all right, because the reality is some people won't be all right. So it's a tough one. So the advice to somebody who's been through it and is in recovery is that it will get better, in terms of you will feel physically better, and take your time with it and start to build a strong body and all that other stuff. But I think the focus is part of it. What helped me was the mental focus. I had a focus that I was going to get fitter. Now, I didn't know if it was going to come back. I still don't. Nobody does, But if I can set myself up to be physically fitter and healthier than ever before, then surely you give yourself the best chance of fighting off. Yeah,
it makes sense. Having a goal as well, having something else to think about. Yeah. The last question actually is on that, then the mental aspect. Kind of the last thing from me is, how does movement and running and everything you're doing now just help you mentally each day now? Yeah, so it's just become part of life. It's changed recently, but initially it was something that kept me focused, and I was getting fitter and physically getting fitter each time, and it was keeping that focus. And I was like I said, I used to work 1 till 10, so I was able to get out in the morning. It was the first thing I did every day. I woke up and I ran, and I felt I was getting fitter. I was out in the fresh air. I was in, like I said, mentioned Lyme Park. I was in the hills running around before work, and I'd get to work like ready to go. It obviously changed more recently because it became a job. So now my own running has taken a bit of a hit, but that's just the nature of, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to coach running for a living. So where I used to run for myself pretty much every day and then go to work, or maybe take one rest day or whatever, and then go to work, I've now got my own training is now pretty much Monday night, and now and again Sunday if I'm feeling all right. But in some cases, particularly recently, Sunday's been the only day I've not got something scheduled in, so I take it as a rest day. So my own running has taken a hit, which is difficult, but the trade-off is that I get to coach running for a living. So it's although I don't get as much out of my own running, I now get more out of helping other people run. So my run clubs that I do, I love it when I do so many run clubs now in a week. Like I think I do seven run clubs in a week,
They're all 5K, so it's a lot of volume, which is obviously why it takes another impact on my own training.
Yeah.
Although they're a lot slower than I would normally run a 5K, I'm still on my feet doing a lot of minors. So, but I take so much from somebody turning up saying, look, this is, I've done couch to 5K or whatever, or, I've been building this up. I've been a bit nervous to come here. Like, I take so much from them coming to the run club and getting round in whatever time they get round in, walking a bit and just supporting them on the way round than I probably ever took from when I used to do it for my own mental health. So I think that's changed with my job becoming a running coach. I'm now the mental side of it, and what keeps me going is that the mental sort of focus and the good stuff that I get from it is other people's success stories, and coaching people to 12-week running plans who then run their first marathon and stuff like that. So the trade-off has been, I used to run for myself every day, and now I get one day a week where I run for myself, and it's a hard session, so it's not actually that enjoyable, but the rest of the time is spent with people, sort of enjoying their journey. And like anything, although it's not my own running, I'd rather be running around Lyme Park or the hills somewhere, instead of running around the streets of wherever the gym is. I'm still out, I'm still keeping active and helping other people to get around. So
thanks very much. Thanks for sharing your story today. It's really good to hear it. And obviously you've got other things coming up. Obviously, hope people listen to this and listen to your story. You've done other things as well, and people come to you, for more advice from yourself. So perfect. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.